We're going to go right over to our next guest, talk about horses, right?
Yep.
Kay, you've been on the show before.
Yep.
And I find that what you do is so wonderful with kids. So tell us about this ponytails. You brought a volunteer with you,
Yeah.
volunteer coordinator. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what's happened is that over the years, you know, we've been in business for 39 years, providing services to Capital District special needs people and children. And along the way, we've accumulated the horses that have helped us all these years, doing hippotherapy, therapeutic riding, therapy and therapeutic activities.
I remember you've been on before talking about this. Yes.
And what's happened is that we have horses that have aged with us, along with us as we've aged. And we can't, and I began to look at a problem that we had is how are the horses going to be able to be supported when they no longer can participate in their normal way of being ridden or driven. So we
You know, I never thought about horses getting old.
Yeah, they do.
But they do, don't they?
Yeah,
Just like the rest of us. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of them are in their 30s, which is remarkable.
How long do horses live?
Well, if you take good care of them, they could live to be 40. We've actually had a 42-year-old that was with us, and Dolly, Redwood Dolly Dancer, who started STEP with me 39 years ago. We do have 5 horses right now that are in their 30s, and they can't work like they used to, kind of like we can't either. So I began to think,
They want to take a little break here.
Yeah, what could we do to help them? Because we promised them a home for life. You know about the problems with horses that are no longer used. They go bad places.
Yeah.
So we're not going to go that way.
I don't want to think that.
Nope,
Yeah.
we're going to give them a home for life. So what do? So I began to think about an emergent issue that happens right now, and it's been getting worse. It happens to our little ones and our older students, and one of it is literacy. There's an emergent issue that literacy is a major problem in the United States.
I heard that the average, when you look, the average reader is 5th grade level.
Yes.
Is that?
And that is really sad because 1 in every 4 children will never learn how to read. Yeah.
No,
And
1 in 4 will not read?
1 in 4 will not read.
Is that because they're dyslexic or no?
No, because they're not reading. COVID has destroyed a lot of the integral programs, and children became isolated during formative years. And as a neuroscientist and working with children, the brain is critical. The brain connection between literacy, physical activity, reading, writing is important. And if you can't connect the two of them, you're not going to have the optimizing a person. You're not going to give them a quality of life. 1 out of every 4 may not read. And in low-income children, 70% will not go on to read, and they will either go into welfare and may wind up in jail. So we're looking at a real problem. The United States is lagging behind in the world.
You think that we would be like the leaders,
No.
and we are not the leaders.
We're
I
not.
don't know what is wrong with our educational system that, as you can point out, 1 in 4 can't read. Now, it would seem, I mean, I grew up, I could read at kindergarten. My mother taught me words. When I went to kindergarten, it was like, can't everybody do this? You know, it's sort of thing. But are parents kind of falling back on their responsibility? Or and I think it's a responsibility of parents to help their kids.
It's a hard thing to define, but it's a overwhelming amount of factors. You have the COVID, you have children, the different type of teaching that's going on, you have home lives are changing, focus is different. Reading and writing, when was the last time you saw a child pick up a pen and write in cursive? Now,
I believe in cursive actually, but you know, I'm probably one of the diehards.
And when was the last time you saw a child actually sit with a book and not a tablet or a phone?
I have to tell you, I was at an event, and it was a restaurant, I'm sorry, and the woman gave her child a book. Okay, so the child had the book, and they're going like this. And it's like, what are you doing? You know? But apparently they had always used, so they were turning their pages, and they weren't turning their pages, they wanted it to move.
Yes, and it's a passive participation, whereas if you hold a book, you're active. You're getting the mind and the brain connected. There's sensory motor pathways to the brain
Absolutely.
that need to be, number one, reading is the input, and it facilitates your ability of comprehension. And writing is your output.
Yep.
And what that does, it takes your thoughts and puts them to paper.
Yeah.
And it establishes the brain. And this
It's
is
a connection. It's a movement. And you know, and we were talking about that earlier. If you write it down, it will kind of imprint. You
Right.
know, and they're not doing that. They're doing something else. you
Right,
know.
and we've seen this, and working with the children that we've been working with, and then looking at all children, not just special needs populations. Dolly Parton has seen this. I mean, her
With her book
Imagination
program,
Library program, we're actually participating in that. We're going to be able to get 3-year-olds their free books every month. We're going to be able to work with public libraries. And again, we started a pilot program a while back, and what we had was Read to Me, Mini-Me program. And we were with a school system that brought us our special ed children during the summer, and that was the Broad-Alban Perth school system. And we taught them the sequencing of 1-step, 2-step, 3-step. But you know what made it so successful? It was the horse, a sentient being who had no judgment, who was there.
You could read to a horse.
Read to them, interact with them, and the children
That
and
was
the
a nice
people.
connection.
They did things with that connection that you really can't get outside of that unique setting, much like a hippotherapy. We can do more with a child on a horse, many of them, in the 30 to 45 minute session than I can ever do in a clinic.
In a classroom, yeah.
So we're looking at mind-body connection and strengthening these pathways. And on top of all of this, we're helping our horses to survive financially. We had a wonderful donor who helped me start this back in January, Dr. Mike Rock, a veterinarian and equestrian. And I mean equestrian. He and I competed in eventing together, and he's still riding, and he's my age now. And he saw this need, and he said, where could we put this money?
Where can we help? Yeah.
And I said, Mike, I want to launch this program for these children. I don't care what their financial situation is. We have a sliding scale. It could be $5, it could be $25. We do want some skin in the game somehow, because that vested interest helps you
Absolutely.
to survive.
Yeah.
But we offer private one-on-one tutelage, and then we do our book buddies, our barn book buddies. And you have pictures of that. On Friday
Yeah,
nights.
I think we had some pictures there. Now Pat is a volunteer, right?
Yes,
How long have you been volunteering, Pat?
9 years.
9 years. And what is your focus on volunteering?
I have no focus.
Okay.
I'm all over.
You're all over.
I'm
Okay.
all over everything. I guess my real goal here is to find a way to keep us, to sustain the program. I keep going because I have seen really simple things, but you know, the program doesn't work. Horses don't work for every child, but they work for an awful lot of them. And we had an instance where the child came and rode, and you know, he's full of smiles, which usually
Of course.
it's not that uncommon.
Yeah.
But through other connections, I found out that his school district was looking to put him into a residential program.
Oh.
And because of uncontrolled behaviors. And it was so wonderful, the fact that we had no idea of
You didn't
this.
even know that
We
because
did
he
not
got
know that
along so well.
Because this guy just enjoyed his horse, enjoyed his time, and there's multiple instances of that.
Like that. And you can see that, yeah.
Yes, and even our volunteers. We have some volunteers that are youth, and they enjoy coming to us because we don't judge, the horses don't judge, and it's a place where they can
It's a
feel
safe
they
place.
belong.
It's a safe
Yep.
place, yeah.
So, but I think my overall goal is to look at sustainability.
Yeah.
And ponytails is part of that, because as Kay said, our older horses that can no longer be ridden, they can be read to.
There's still a
And
purpose. They still have a purpose. And they probably appreciate that.
they've been there.
I mean,
done
I
that
mean, as
kind
much
of
as a
thing.
horse can appreciate, but it seems to me that they must like the contact
Some-
of a human
yep.
being.
Certain horses certainly,
Yeah,
enjoy that.
Yeah.
they do. They're sentient beings. They can actually, in the law of physics, there's the mass effect. The horse can actually affect your heart rate and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
You come into the barn and you can literally see people's troubles melt away. You can see people who come in highly strung and get near a horse that is very sensitive to that, and the horse starts to react, and then we have to start talking about what kind of a day you've had today.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not going to be the best day to do activities.
Yeah,
But
well,
yeah.
that's interesting. That there's a lot behind it. You're a physical therapist to begin with,
Yes.
so you have a lot of experience in this this field. Amazing at what you do, and I hope that you get a lot. Now, when does your program run, and how can people get in touch with you?
Well, our basic programs are ongoing right now, and they have to register and to be able to be accepted. We do have a wait list on in our hippotherapy and our step-up therapeutic riding. We have more openings in our Step from the Ground Up program,
Okay.
but they can certainly register online.
And you have a website, too,
website,
and I
they-
think we put that up
yeah.
during your interview.
And
yeah.
they can email us. The Ponytails program right now, I'm reaching out for volunteers to help me put it together, and then we're going to actually put a schedule up, and then people will be able to come, be trained first, and then we'll put them intricately into those sessions. Usually it's going to be between the the second shift, which is between 5 and 9 at night, be wedged in some, and then in the afternoons or mornings.
So they'll find that information on your website. And you
Right,
can get volunteers.
right.
yeah.
Once they contact me, we'll be able to get them in and get them trained.
I love what you're doing. So keep
Thank
doing
you.
it and keep those horses happy too.
Yep.
Good. I know you're doing a great job for the kids as well.
Thank
I love your idea of the mind and body.
Yep.
Good idea. Thank you for being here today.
You're welcome.